It's something we all talk about. That's the economy and where we are compared to where we were just 4 years ago. Bidenomics is a term that it doesn't get used by the folks on the left anymore. Apparently, they didn't like the results, and how it polls is terrible when the cost of everything's up 20%, but the cost of food's 30%, the cost of gasoline 55%. OPEC Plus, by the way, saying they're not going to increase production of oil. Why? They need to keep the price higher, which means the price for you is going to be high into next year. Nick Hopwood joins me, certified financial planner, founder of Peak Wealth, who oversees $300 million for retirees and small business owners. Nick and his team of CFPs inspire great financial decisions so you can retire with peak confidence. You can find out more at peakwm.com/Gruber for a free Roth analysis and conversion analysis. Nick, welcome back to the program.
Great to be here, Steve. Thank you.
Today you said let's talk about estate planning. I agree with that. I don't think enough people don't have wills drawn up. And to me, it's mind-blowing the number of people you meet that are of an age that they should have a will. Now, I think everybody should have a will, no matter your age. If you have any assets at all, you should have a will. Otherwise, it gets chewed up in probate. And I've been through this. Both my parents had wills, but I run into so many people that are completely unprepared, Nick. They have no estate plan at all. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, Steve, you're right. Only 1/3 of Americans have an estate plan, whether that be a trust or a will or a power of attorney. And it causes a lot of problems. Like you say, we want to make sure that we're avoiding estate taxes if you're in the high net worth area. We want to make sure that we're avoiding probate, as you said. And ultimately, we want to make sure that our beneficiaries are getting the money that we plan on them receiving. And so your estate plan is critical in all three areas.
So what is the first thing? First thing, get a plan to have a plan. Number one, make sure you have a will. These are simple things. You can get a will on an online form, or you can talk to an attorney, and you can build an estate. It's not a complicated thing to do, but it's an essential thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can go online. I'd rather see you work with an attorney in your area, and there is a cost, but I think the biggest roadblock for people is just getting up and doing it. And so, this is one of those things that we don't like the idea of doing. We don't want to do it. It's not fun. And so we kind of put it on the bottom of the list, but we just have to make it a priority. And then I think, we can raise that 1/3 of Americans with a plan. We can double that quickly.
Yeah. Here's something else that you listed here. I found this an interesting thing. Almost 60% of Americans use TurboTax to file their tax each year. I don't know if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's probably a way that you miss out on some deductions, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a great way to do taxes. What do you make of it?
I agree with you. There's 58% of Americans are using TurboTax. So I feel like there's three categories of people. You're either using TurboTax, and you're doing it for basically free, or you're going to a place like H&R Block, or you're hiring a CPA. And if you're going to pay H&R Block, you might as well pay a CPA because the fees at this point in time are about the same from what I can tell. So I would much rather have a CPA. Steve, when I started my career back in 2001, I was filing my taxes on my own. And then I took my 2001 taxes to my CPA, and he said, you better just stick to financial planning and tax planning. Let me do the tax prep. So that told me a lot, that even as a CFP, there's more out there than most of us know, and so we should rely on a CPA for our tax filing and tax prep.
By the numbers, here's another fact today. In April, over 480,000 homes were listed on the market. It's a record going back all the way to 2008. And this is just new listing. So this was inevitable. Houses are being dumped on the market, but prices don't seem to be moderating much so far. Nick, what do you see here?
Yeah, I find it very interesting that we have this monthly record going back to 2008, as you mentioned. But the thing is, supply has been so low that hopefully this just kind of puts us back into equilibrium, or a step in that direction towards equilibrium. It's too soon to tell if this is a new trend, but maybe it's just people taking advantage of the high prices. Maybe there's other forces at work here, but we'll have to pay attention to this trend to see if this increased supply is going to kind of lower prices going forward.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I see some houses coming down a bit, but overall, the price of houses continues to be very high. And with interest rates so high, difficult for first-time home buyers. I know that. You say there's a 65% chance, according to the Fed, for a rate cut in September. If that's true, then it's only politics, because we're nowhere near the 2% target number for inflation, even at 3.4, 3.5%, nowhere near where they say they have to be. And they're saying a chance of a rate cut in September. Unless it's politically motivated, I don't see how that's possible. What say you?
So you're right. The level's at 60%. And I think when you look at inflation, it has stalled, as you mentioned. So we're like in the mid 3% range. And I think the market is hoping for a cut, right? The market loves when the Fed is on their side. But we have seen some weak economic data coming through in May. Almost all of the manufacturing reports came in softer than expected. So when you have softer economic data, it gives the market hope that the Fed will come to the rescue. And it's almost like it's kind of a perverse setup where the market is hoping for bad economic data because that will bring the lower rates sooner.
Well, I guess we'll find out, but we'll keep an eye on it. The good news is May was the best in 15 years. I can leave you with that a positive note. If you want to find out more, get a second opinion, talk about estate planning or what you can do for your retirement, visit peakwm.com. You'll be in touch with Nick Hopwood here. peakwm.com/Gruber. You'll get a free complimentary Roth conversion analysis if you want to take a look at that. And Nick, of course, will give you great advice and a second opinion to make sure your money is protected. Nick Hopwood, as always, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. We'll see you next time.